Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'd firstly like to join my honorable colleagues in congratulating you on your new post, and I do wish you good health and God's blessing. Mr. Speaker, before going to the substance of my discussion, I would like to firstly put things into context. Mr. Speaker, I want you to understand that we're not dealing with our equals on the other side. We're dealing with people who don't share the same values that we on this side feel and view, nor the people of this country. They have been well fed by the state for 5 years. Now they're in hibernation. They will be resting there and trying to create trouble in Guyana, and they will be unproductive in their efforts in trying to move this country forward. So I want to make it clear that that is our point of departure. We are not dealing with people who believe in democracy, good governance, respect for the rule of law, and human rights. We are dealing with people who are very, very destructive to Guyana. We have been doing all of the heavy lifting. Post-independence into the era of globalization, and we're still doing the heavy lifting. It is sad, Mr. Speaker, that we have to endure these types of hardship in 21st century Guyana. Mr. Speaker, notwithstanding the challenges that we face from the other side, based on the unproductive efforts and the fact they're trying to make things hard and difficult and frustrating for us, we have a mandate to represent the people, and we will do that without fear or favor, to the best of our ability, to serve the people of Guyana. Mr. Speaker, the reason why this noble House is so configured, that is so because democracy was restored in August 2nd, and that is why we are on this side of the House, and that is why the APNO AFC are on that side of the House, because democracy was restored August 2nd in Guyana. Mr. Speaker, what is the record from the other side? They have no record to show. A broken record, a record without any substance. I dare say, Mr. Speaker, that they have only had 60% of their time in office as a legitimate government. The other 40% they spent hanging on to power, disobeying the rule of law, and trying to subvert the will of the people. So, Mr. Speaker, we have to understand what we're dealing with. We're not dealing with like-minded people. We are not dealing with people who we can work with. But we will have to guide them and ensure that we can win their supporters, because come 2025, that House will have very few seats. We will take Georgetown. We will take Linden. We will take Nebapolis. We will take Golden Grove. We will take number 5 as well, Mr. Speaker. That is our mandate, because we are representatives. They are state oil salesmen and women, gangsters in suits, fraudsters. They have no place in this history of this beautiful country. So, Mr. Speaker, let me go through their rap sheet. From the time they took office in 2015, they began to militarize the state, trying their best to intimidate the good citizens of this country, to drive fear in each and every one of us. But because we had a responsible opposition that understands the nature of that party or the coalition, we were able to represent the people, and that is why we can stand here today speaking from this side of the House in full support of the people of this country. Mr. Speaker, from the time the coalition took office, they went about trying to capture the state. Unilateral appointment of James Patterson was an attempt to control GCOM. And we saw what ensued following the collapse of the government, the then government. The lack of transparency, $18 million sign-in bonus was hidden from us, the people of Guyana. That is fine. I can deal with Pompey and Lampy. Lack of accountability. Billions of dollars unaccounted for. Check the Auditor General report. Billions of dollars unaccounted for. That is the nature of that side of the House. Big government, Mr. Speaker. The largest cabinet in this hemisphere under that government. A government that is pregnant with nepotism and cronyism. Jobs for their friends and their families. Occupying offices without any tasks, without any contract. Just occupying space and being paid. It was a sad affair, Mr. President. And that is why I'm trying to remind the House and the people of this country that we're not dealing with our equals. We're not dealing with people who believe in development, who believe in democracy, not as a word that you put on a wall, but in your actions. So, Mr. Speaker, as I continue, look at their actions, extractive political and economic policies. Look what it did to the sugar belt, putting ordinary Guyanese citizens on the breadline, unconscionable. Is that the way you treat the working class? But thankfully on this side of the House, Mr. Speaker, we have a political party in government that is pro-working class, who believes in development from the top up and the bottom down so that we can have balanced development. Mr. Speaker, all of what the coalition did in 5 years created structural violence. They dismantled our institutions. The disparity became even worse between the have and the have-nots. That led to social ills, Mr. President. Broken homes, suicide rate went up. It is because of that side of the House. They're the ones who destroyed this country, Mr. Speaker. And that is why we have been given a mandate to restore this country back to its beauty and to its vigor and the life that we enjoyed for 23 years, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it is sad to say that during the time in office of the coalition government, the people of this country were reduced to mere serfs. They took our rights and our liberties away from us. They took us back to 16th century England. That is the nature of that coalition government. It is a shell that believes in political opportunism, that do not understand how to serve people. They believe that they are masters, and they believe that they should decide on every action for the people of this country. So they remove the people from participation. We are the ones on this side that provided responsible leadership in and out of office. And that is why, Mr. Speaker, we have been given a mandate to restore this country back to its rightful place. And that is why we are thankful to the people of Guyana that they've recognized that the APNU AFC is no longer deserving of being in office. Mr. Speaker, consider the vision of our coalition on the other side. You follow the drift. You're listening. Mr. Speaker, think about it. The opposition leader in the House at one time exclaimed that one of the best projects undertaken and delivered to the people of the Guyana was Durban Park. He was excited about that. Now compare that with the Marriott Hotel. Value added, creation of jobs, revenue earning, Value added. You ask any ordinary citizen in this country who is desirous of a job, an opportunity to look after their wives and their husbands and their families, if they will want another Marriott or another Durban Park. Go and ask them. Go and ask them. We are about progress. And that is a small comparison because I'm using two infrastructural projects. One that earns money for the people of this country, and one that is basically a Woodstock. That is the nature. And that is why, Mr. Speaker, I'm saying to you that using that simple example, we can see the difference in the vision between this side of the House and that side of the House. They have not produced any infrastructure undertaking in their time in office. Everything that they've done was a rollover from our government. Every project, every major project was a rollover, already hashed out and financed. And what they did, they squandered the resources. Look at the airport. Look at the airport, Mr. Speaker. Look what they did to it. They are no good, and this is their record. So sitting on that side of the House and trying to play equal, it's not going to help you. Mr. Speaker, the first 3 years of the coalition government was the hardship period. Hardship period. Taxes, the taxes, Mr. President, meted out on the ordinary people of this country. When we get to the second period.
Honorable Member, I'm very honored that you are calling me Mr. President, but I think we're in the National Assembly.
Sorry, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the second phase of the opposition in office, I call that the dark period, the remaining 40%. This is a period, Mr. Speaker, that was the darkest days in the history of this country. The violation of the Constitution, disrespect for the rule of law, the violation of the rights of individuals, race politics, disrespect and regard for intergovernmental bodies, treaties, and charters, Mr. Speaker. Those are the outcomes from our honorable brothers and sisters on that side of the House. What they've done in the last 2 years in government was to dismantle our political, economic, and social structures, bringing mayhem to bear on this country. Mr. Speaker, the APNO AFC is characterized by ineffective national policies and strategies, culminating in failed national objectives. Point in case, the Green State Development Strategy, a shell. Mr. Speaker, this led to very weak foreign policy instruments, poor and ineffective international engagements, and a withering of our international presence, and thereby no legacy to show. If you contrast that, Mr. Speaker, with our developmental strategies, we have already had 3 massive strategies that were workable and that helped to move this country forward. The low carbon development strategy, the national development strategy, and the national competitive strategy all together helped to move this country forward between 2006 onwards. Mr. Speaker, we are here to present an emergency budget. This is so because the APNO FC stole most of the year from us. And because we're competent and because we understand the needs of the people, we were able to hash out an emergency budget in less than 4 weeks. Mr. Speaker, our budget is $1.7 billion. And we have some key priority areas that we're working on. And Mr. Speaker, let me remind the House that the Foreign Ministry lacked presence, lacked efficiency, lacked effectiveness, lacked competency, and lacked suitability in many of the areas, especially in our foreign missions. So, Mr. Speaker, our job as a new government, not new to governance, I might add, will restore the vigor in the ministry and put the ministry back on the regional and world map. Priority areas, Mr. Speaker. We will focus on Guyana's sovereignty and territorial integrity. If you recall, Mr. Speaker, under the Granger-led administration, they have weakened the structures to the point that our sovereignty was fragile. We were exposed territorially because we lacked capacity to negotiate and win and maintain friendships and partnerships within the region and beyond. So, Mr. Speaker, we are in a position now that democracy is restored to use the resources available to us to ensure that we put sovereignty and our territorial integrity back in its rightful place so that we can ensure that we keep this country preserved, not for ourselves only, but for those to come in the future. Mr. Speaker, another priority area is strengthening our multilateral diplomacy. That was lacking, Mr. Speaker, for nearly 3.5 years under the APNO-FC coalition government. All they did was trips around the world for fun, photo ops on private jets. Mr. Speaker, coming back to Guyana with nothing to say but attendance. Attendance does not help the people of Guyana. You have to come back with workable solutions that will help to improve our national policies and national development. Mr. Speaker, the Group 77 and China is a priority, even though we have limited time available because our chairmanship comes to an end at the end of the year. Nonetheless, we have a menu of measures that we'll be presenting to the National Assembly to ensure that we're able to leave our presence in the international arena. Mr. Speaker, we'll be focusing on biodiversity and climate change, as well as relief measures following the COVID-19 pandemic. Following on from that, Mr. Speaker, the other area that we'll address for the end between October and December is to rebuild and enhance Guyana's bilateral, regional, hemispheric, and international engagements. Mr. Speaker, it has been broken. Most of our foreign partners and friends would have removed themselves from the government at that time because of the political crisis. Many felt that they were illegitimate, and as such, most of the diplomatic engagements and international cooperation would have been put on hold. But, Mr. Speaker, I'm proud to tell you that the line is long. The days are long because the international community is queuing up to re-engage with Guyana because they see Guyana as a viable partner in our development of the region and the hemisphere as a whole. Mr. Speaker, we are also going to embark on aggressive policies and strategies to revitalize and deepen our diaspora engagement. Recall, Mr. Speaker, that under the APNO-AFC government, they moved the diaspora engagement unit to citizenship under Minister Felix. to politicize the diaspora engagement, Mr. Speaker. What they did was a travesty to the Guyanese people. So we could not benefit from the intellectual and financial and human resources out there in the diaspora because they politicized it for their own selfish gains. Mr. Speaker, we are going to normalize it. It is back with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, and we are going to ensure that we engage with our donor agencies and our partners overseas to ensure that diaspora engagement is a key pillar in our development. Mr. Speaker, let me remind the House that we have 5 years of engagement in this House. We have a track record that has been proven to be successful. Our budgets are effective, they are realistic, and they apply to each and every sector and strata within society. We are preparing for massive growth and development, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would also add that I would urge my honorable brothers and sisters on the other side to read our manifesto, engage yourselves, so that when you come to this House, you can have objective, critical thinking and analysis, so that together we can help move Guyana forward. If you remain in ignorance, if you remain in that state of mind, and if you still do not embrace democracy, it will be difficult for us to lift this country. We cannot allow ourselves to be caught up in the selfish attitude and behavior that ensued under the APNO AFC. We have always stood firm by the people. We have always ensured that the resources are equitably distributed. We have always ensured that our budget is healthy and friendly. We believe in small government. We believe in ensuring the private sector is given the opportunity to make the gains necessary to move an economy forward. And Mr. Speaker, on the private sector, may I clarify for the people of this country that in this current dispensation, regionally and globally, the private sector is the engine of growth. I have to remind the honorable members on the other side that we have signed on to the Washington Consensus. We are the ones who signed on to accepting market principles and values and democracy tied together. We are the ones who believe that foreign direct investment is good for your people and your country. We believe in pragmatic policies. We know that we can empower the private sector, we can have a small and lean government, and we can have a budget that will still work for the people. Unlike the other side, Mr. Speaker, they do not believe in the private sector. The former Minister of Finance labeled the private sector as drug dealers, as criminals. That is insulting. It is shameful for you guys to say that, knowing that we have to depend on the private sector to advance our bilateral engagements and our regional engagements, because those are the ones who have to go there and provide jobs, create and innovate. Not you. You on the other side believe that you are all wise and all knowing. You're not. We are mere representatives. We are there to craft policies so that we can ensure that the people can benefit through our good governance and good measures that we provide for our people. So I beg of you, honorable members on the other side, to follow good leadership on this side. Get your acts together. Understand that if you want to make Guyana a better place, that you will have to shed those old thinkings that you have, and understand that you have to embrace policies that are progressive. You have to embrace policies that are designed to ensure that people's lives are better, so that at the end of the day, people must be able to say that I am better off today than I was yesterday because of the policies and programs of a government. So I give you this charge, honorable members on the other side, that if you want to work with us, to move this country forward. Ensure that you understand what democracy is. Ensure you understand what free market principles are. Ensure you understand what social policies should be implemented to help our citizens. Because on this side, we have made massive achievements in healthcare and in education. And that was done through our strong, soft diplomacy in being able to build friends and partners for the benefit, mutual benefit for both. So, Mr. Speaker, in closing, I want to say that this budget, even though it's an emergency budget, mirrors what we have produced over the several decades that we've been in office. Because we understand the people, we understand their needs, we know how to deliver. We know, Mr. Speaker, we know how to deliver on policies and programs, and our track record is proven. If I go back to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Speaker, I want to tell you that we have already sat and came up with a long-term strategy. We have a strategy for the next 5 years that aligns itself with our manifesto. So when it comes to the fact that we have not only foreign relations but international cooperation added, that is to show the direction that we're going. We're going in the direction where we expect, through our policies and programs, that we'll have massive growth and development in this country. And might I add, Mr. Speaker, we will have, I report to the President, so. I must say, Mr. Speaker, that when you look at our policies and programs coming out of the ministry, it is aligned with it's in line with our manifesto, because if you look at our manifesto, honorable members on the other side, diversification and innovation will lead the movement of this country in the right direction. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to tell you, and I want to assure the honorable members on the other side, that we at the Foreign Ministry will be ensuring that we have the right policy instruments to ensure that we engage with our traditional partners, our regional partners, and our extra-regional partners to ensure that the people of Guyana benefit at every level within the international forum. Multilateralism is important for us because at the G77 and China, it is a good opportunity for us, Mr. Speaker, to show who we are as Guyanese, to explain to the world what we see as important for small states. And I want the honorable members on the other side to understand that we understand our vulnerabilities, we understand our shortcomings, and we know how to position Guyana in the international environment using the resources that we have available to us, because we are prudent, we are frugal, and we understand government and governance. So, Mr. Speaker, please accept my presentation, and I beg of my honorable members on the other side to cooperate with us, not to create mischief and not to be destructive, but work together in harmony so that we can move Guyana forward as a united nation. I thank you.
Thank you very much,